Hello, guys and gals, animal friends, and spirit pals. Welcome back to the Spirit Whisper channel. My name's Mark. I'm a conscious voice channel, and this is my YouTube channel. So, channel. How you guys doing? Got that out of my system. Alrighty. Well, it's about 9:30 here on Wednesday, October 9th. I'm just taking a little break from watching news about the hurricane hitting Florida. And I thought, let's take a little break. Let's do something else for a few minutes. And I thought, let's put back on my mystery hat and go to Roticklin. Put on my Sherlock Homo hat and see what we can find out. So, I'm kind of calling these videos like Hollywood and then / mystery. Lots might be involved with Hollywood somehow, but not always. Sometimes it's just a mystery. That's all. It's just a mysterious mystery. I'll let you see my shirt in case you might like it. It's got lots of kitty cats on it. There's cats with umbrellas, cat in a pumpkin, cat in a hat, cat in another hat. It's raining. It's raining cats. Right. Buttercup's behind me. Alaska's behind us both. Before I get started on my new mystery that I want to look at, let me see, what do I want to tell you? Oh, one or two of you in my last video got your panties in a little bit of a bunch about me raising my voice to the poor little pitiful Buttercup. Trust me, she's absolutely fine. She's among one of the most spoiled dogs on the planet. Isn't that true, Buttercup? Yes, look at that face. How cute is that little face? There's only one or two things that I have to raise my voice at her about that she knows better. And I have to kind of raise my voice just so she knows that I'm serious, because she gets away with everything except for a couple things. And I think of it like mommy dog growling at the puppy so that they pay attention. One of those things is running into the street, which is not allowed, and I will sharply say no in her name. The other thing, she's not allowed to get into the litter box, and which is what she was doing when I told her no and to get a grip the last time I was doing this. For some reason, she decided she'd go digging in the cat box during my YouTube show. She knows that's a no-no. Anyway, please don't worry. She's perfectly fine. Now, she does have an allergy she's been experiencing, isn't it, sweetie pie? She goes, I've been having an allergy, and it's been very annoying. But we've been to the vet. She's got medication. She has flea stuff all over her. Everybody get a grip. But she does have some allergy. We can't figure out what it is. She never in her life had an allergy when we lived in Los Angeles. We never did anything about fleas because they never had any fleas. And even this, I'm not sure it's really flea related. But anyway, we're trying different things. And she was one itch pill behind. I couldn't get them to the next morning, so she was extra special itchy, plus also letting me know, hey, Daddy, are you going to the vet tomorrow to get my $47 for 15 pill prescription? And yes, I did. So now she has it. She's even more spoiled rotten than normal. Look at this little spoiled puppy. And little kisses. And now Alaska's going to be mad I'm slobbering all over this dog. Huh, Alaska? Because I love you too. I do. Okay, enough of that. I wanted to look at, Netflix. I have Netflix, and I like to watch stuff on TV. And I've been watching some of the things they've been having about the Menendez brothers. Now, I was alive and well and living in Los Angeles when that thing happened, like 1989, I think. And I was right there. Of course, it was a big deal there in town. And I watched, it was on television, and I watched a lot of it. And back then, I immediately believed the boys. Now, we always knew they killed their parents. There was no question about that. They admitted it and said they did. But they got a little bit of a raw deal just because back in that day, and if you saw them on the stand in the day, telling about the abuse they suffered from their father, and actually from their mother too, although she didn't sexually abuse them, but, she wasn't a great protective mother. But, and so the prosecution, and they just basically ridiculed them to death about that. So they had 2 trials. The first one was hung, and it just went right down the middle. The women thought the life that they led had something to do with the result that happened, right, with them killing their parents. The men just immediately thought there's no way boys could be molested. And back in that day, this is probably the first time we heard about it, like, big time like that. And of course, they immediately thought they were lying and using it to get out of it and all that stuff. I, on the other hand, always thought they were telling the truth. I don't know if you watch them, I don't really know how you could think they weren't telling the truth. And, I knew they murdered their parents, and I knew they were going to be punished and all that. But they were in fear of their life. There's just that. Eric, the younger brother, was 18 when it happened. His brother Lyle was 21. They just turned, so they were brand new 18, brand new 21. So they were young. Now their story was, so Lyle was the oldest. At age 6, his father began to sexually molest him. And it continued, a lot until his little brother got to be 6. And then he kind of started the father with Eric, and sort of Lyle kept, fighting him, wanting to stop and all that. And so he just kind of forgot him, didn't do that anymore with Lyle, but then started it up with Eric, and then continued molesting Eric right up until the week they killed them. And all different kinds of molestation. And also, he was very controlling. There's also physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse. And they were kind of like prisoners in their own family. They had to do everything the father said. The father was very powerful. He was also rich. He made a fortune from nothing. He was from Cuba. His family immigrated here with just the clothes on their back. And he made a huge living for himself. They were living in Beverly Hills. They had a huge mansion. He was in charge of RCA Records for a while. He was the president of Hertz Rent-A-Car. There was a part where he had hired O.J. Simpson to be the spokesperson for Hertz. He started the group Menudo. If you guys are older, you might remember that. It was kind of a Mexican group. And he was in charge of it and everything. And his idea was that it would always be young boys. So as soon as they outgrew, they would be replaced with another young boy. Anyway. And so he was really, they had to do everything he told them to do, and they couldn't really talk back or anything. Now, they provided them with all the things you would need because they were really wealthy. But you had to follow Jose's idea exactly. And he wanted them to be big sports stars, so he put a lot of money and stuff into them being tennis stars, especially Lyle. And Lyle was probably the better of the two. Don't be digging over there. We don't want to go through that again. Come over here. So there was that. So at about 6, he started to molest the boys, one at a time. And he would start with like massaging them, including their genitals. And then they always had to have showers with their father, when they were like 10, 11. And then he also made them have oral sex with him, anal sex, it was the whole thing. And he raped them with objects, all kinds of crappy stuff. So the injustice in that is the first trial, like I said, was hung. Then they retried them. In between that, they had the O.J. Simpson trial, and Los Angeles lost big time on that. I also lived through that and watched all that whole nightmare. And they were bound and determined not to have another loss. So when it got time to try these guys, they didn't let any of the evidence about the molestation and all that in. Several of their cousins and relatives, aunts and stuff, Kitty's sister, Jose's sister, testified that he was abusive. And a couple of the cousins, the boys had told them that their father had been touching them in their privates and they didn't like it and they were afraid of him, stuff like that. And she told the mother, and the mother just acted like they were all making it up. So just before they killed them, Eric went to his older brother and told him that his father had still been molesting him. Way back when they were little, Lyle, trying to be big, told his father he better stop and not bother his brother or he would tell. And they'd always been told if they told anybody they'd be killed. So there was that all the time. And Eric never said anything because he wasn't supposed to tell his brother any more about that. So on the witness stand too, the older brother said that he had molested his younger brother a few times, and he was just doing what his father did to him, and he thought that's what you did, because his father talked to them about it, that this is what Greek and Roman soldiers and athletes did to build trust and camaraderie. He had whole big stories he told them all the time. Anyway, so just before, Eric confessed to his brother that his father had still been molesting him, and right up then, when he was 18. And Lyle freaked out, went to his father, told him he was going to stop touching his brother and molesting his brother, or he was going to tell the family and the police what he'd been doing. And his father pushed him against the wall and said, this is my son and you don't tell me what to do with him. The end. And they'd already told them time and time again that if they ever told anybody, they would kill them. After that, it was a big old thing, a big fight and everything. And during that, the mother confessed to the boys that she knew it had been going on, and basically she didn't give a hoot about it. She knew it. She would say things like, She wished she'd never had them. She'd tell that to them. They was what ruined her relationship with her husband. Children just came in between the wife and the husband. Okay. Anyway, and she was addicted to alcohol and prescription drugs. She was a mess and all that. So it was kind of a raw deal that the DA and all that finagled it so they couldn't get any of that evidence in the second trial. Also, the judge was the same judge in both trials. He was extremely prejudiced. You could tell he didn't believe that a boy could be sexually molested, much less by her father, even at all. And he's the one that wouldn't let any of that evidence in and everything. So they got sentenced to life without parole. They've been in prison now for 35 years. I think it's 34 going on 35. Both of them. To be extra creepy even, the boys did a Barbara Walters interview where they were hoping they would be able to stay in the same prison. And then as soon as they said that, they immediately split them up and sent them to separate prisons. So the whole time of those 35 years, they weren't able to talk or see each other or be in the same location or anything. They finally, after years and years, they put them in the same place again. And they can see each other and stuff, which made them very happy. Now, the reason it's back up and why those specials came out and it's back up in the news is the current DA and everything in that area where it was done. They've been asked to review stuff and look at it again. And so they're reviewing it to see if it maybe should have been convicted of manslaughter rather than premeditated murder or murder without any provocation or anything like that. Basically, that they should have considered that they had been molested repeatedly throughout their childhood by their dad, as well as, abused in all other ways. And so they're reviewing it. Also, a few years ago, one of the boys from the band Menudo came forward. He's a man now, grown man, and said that the father had abused him as well, sexually abused him. Now, it's extra hard for a boy to come out with that, number one. It's hard for anybody, girl too. I'm not saying it's not. But there's even more stigma about, boys wouldn't do it or whatever. But if you're groomed from the time you're teeny tiny, you don't know any better or any different. And they make sure you don't. And they threaten you with your life. And it's horrifying. And you also end up loving your captors because you're just desperate for the love and attention. And, you get all screwed up. That's obvious. So my question is, I'm wondering if they're going to be able to get out early. That's my number one question. So I know it was a little bit of a long introduction, but I wanted to kind of get the story out there. First of all, I'm going to just do a poll on on their mother, Kitty, and her relationship with them. We'll call them the boys. Of course, they're grown men in their 50s now. But all through the trial, they were called the boys. I'm just wondering what her energy with them was like. She was a beauty pageant winner and stuff when she was young. She married Jose really young. So what was her energy like? I'll probably just do 3 cards. I just want to kind of get if the cards want to say anything about her in particular as it, relates to the sons. Okie dokie. Let's look at this. Let's looky-loo at thisy-do. Okay, so here she is. She gets the Four of Swords. You know, that's like information, knowledge, words. Look at her looking at the boy on the bed. This card's telling me she knew stuff was going on with the boys, you know, when they were laying down. She was aware of it. Here's the knowledge up there. It was easy to see. It was on display. This bedroom energy. It was like she could, almost like there was a camera. It was in her sight. She knew about it. She's also really focused on, you know, money, being the wife of a wealthy man, prestige. You know, she wanted to be an actress and stuff like that. She always, or a singer or something. So she had big aspirations for herself, but Jose wouldn't let her do anything but stay home. So she became like kind of a trophy wife. So she was always focused on, you know, money. Didn't really have much time for actual mothery duties. It was sort of like a mother in appearance, kind of. Then we get Justice. I'm going to say, being aware of this situation, she kind of knows the truth with this sword in one hand, but she's not fair with her judgment. She judges the two boys harshly. That's the one she judges. Kind of the blame on them in a way for some of the troubles in the house. There would be times when she'd say things, if you just be quiet, we wouldn't have this trouble. You know, that kind of thing. She knew the boys were being abused. There they are. She was well aware of it. They said she was. People tried to act like they were lying, but she was aware of it. She felt lonely, looking for love in all the wrong places, missing her husband. So in this picture, it's like Jose's walking off there in the distance, and she's left holding the cups, holding the kids, getting no love. So she felt alone, unloved. This also looking into the bottom of her empty wine glass. You know, she's already finished 2 bottles. Here's the 3rd one. She's kind of, especially at this time, she was pretty deep in addiction and depression. Those are interesting. So the cards are just trying to show us, you know, kind of her state of mind, her attention, what it was on, and that she was aware. I think it was really clear when it said she was aware of them being abused. All right. Let's look at Jose's energy. Jose Menendez, when it comes to his boys. When they were doing the trial, the prosecution team, you know, the defense team had quite a few family witnesses and doctors and friends, like the boys' tennis coach, who's, you know, testified that they were abused. The cousins testified to them being sexually abused, but all lots of people who said that Jose was not nice and he was mean to the boys and did like bizarre kinds of punishments, and also they testified that Kitty was just a mess. She wasn't at first, but as time passed on, she just became more and more vacant, lost. She used to be a lot of fun to hang out with, and then she just became a different kind of an alcoholic. But they couldn't find a single person, the prosecution, to testify that Jose was a nice guy. Not one person could they find to testify to his character. That says a little something. Meanwhile, there were all these family members willing to testify that, he was not a wonderful father. Okie dokie. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, more cups just came. More cards just kept flipping over. So, first of all, for Jose, I got the Three of Swords upside down. He didn't know how to show love or receive love or give love. I don't know if he ever felt like he had it to begin with when he was little. Apparently, he had been abused by his mom when he was little. She used to play with him as a baby with his penis until it would, get hard or something, and then laugh and joke about it. That was the story they told. But anyway, he was really pretty screwed up when it came to affairs of the heart and love and what love meant. And, in his mind, love meant hurt. There was hurt involved, torture, pain. Two of Cups upside down. This husband and wife, wonderful couple image wasn't real. It's interesting too because he was Hispanic and she was white. It kind of looks like this in this picture. But that was never a real thing. He pretended. He was really good at liking pretending. Even there was a period where he supposedly had a girlfriend too, and she knew about and all that. But this was all just a make-believe thing. He liked that she gave him 2 sons. Knight of Wands upside down. He was very driven by passion, his penis, sexual energy, lust is what I'm getting. Look at all that fire flying out of here. And he went after it. That lust, that desire took over like a hot rod. He was a hot rod. At least he thought he was. But upside down, that passion, that lust went in an upside down direction. It was directed where it shouldn't have been. He he was a control freak. That's why, the wife couldn't work or anything. This is kind of like her, but he wanted her. It was like a picture, like a trophy wife, sort of. But he didn't really care about her, really. Well, I think he probably cared about her, but it wasn't like what turned him on or what he lusted after or what he wanted. He obviously, not only being the pedophile, but also he didn't mess around with girls. It was always boys. But this is kind of the perfect little picture. She's the perfect wife and mother. We have the perfect home and family. That was the vision he liked to portray. But as soon as you got up close and talked to him, you realized something was up. He kept his boys on a string, hangman upside down. He puppeted them. He told them what to say, what to do, how to act. The oldest boy lost his hair at a young, early age. The father wouldn't let him tell anybody. Eric didn't even know that his brother was bald. He forced his son to wear a wig all the time. And he wouldn't let him tell anybody that he was losing hair because he said, he someday wanted him to be in politics and you had to have hair. That kind of control. Not only did he make him a wig, but he wasn't allowed to tell even his brother about it. So, he puppeted them. He controlled them completely. That was his plan all along. He was very exacting in what he wanted people to do. And he was generous. He took care of them. He bought them things like they had nice cars, lessons. He was getting them into the biggest schools. He might have to pull some strings or some shenanigans. He was willing to do anything with his money, no matter how, unseemly it might seem. There's this naked woman here. And he's not even really painting her, but he's looking at her. But he also used money to keep people under his thumb. And also, when you're that rich and you're in Beverly Hills, stuff like that, people don't bother you much. You kind of are rich enough to be left alone, and people don't ask about what you're doing at home and all that kind of thing. Finally, gets the Wheel of Fortune upside down. Almost all of his cards were upside down. Except for that Empress. That was like the vision he liked to create. So that was right side up because it was this, idea. And, he wanted the American dream, and in many ways, he created it. But the way he went about it, the energy he put into the world, the energy he put into the family, the energy he put into his sons, came back on him. In this way, I'm going to say he was as responsible for the thing that happened as they were. Because, he had this picture, he wanted this, but as we got down to this time, She was drinking. She was druggy. Um, she was distant, wacky. She'd already threatened suicide a few times. Constantly telling her kids that. And when we look at this again, it's like them together. Um, they would do creepy stuff. They were kind of more concerned about that, about the way they looked, than the kids. And this way of raising them, I'm going to say, came back to haunt them or to get them. So I'm not saying it's good that they did that. I'm not condoning anybody killing their parents or killing anybody for that matter. But sometimes your actions bring you reactions that maybe you didn't expect, but they're sort of a natural extension of what you've been doing. So there is all that. Now, I'm going to ask one more question about Jose, and then I'm just going to ask a final question about if maybe they'll get out early, after 35 years. Not that early, but, will they? So, was that the thing? Was he, like a pedophile, child molester, whatever it was? Did he see his boys as like, sex objects? Is that why he had children? Is that true? I do believe the boys. But let's see. This is a little bit more of a deep dive. Yep. I'm going to say so. So, these are my naked cards. I'm going to have to use my finger again. This is the star. Jose thought of himself as, he's narcissistic, I'm going to say. He thought of himself as the end-all, be-all. Whatever he said and did, whatever he wanted was fine. It's just because, like he'd say, I bought it, I paid for it, it's mine, I get to do with it what I want. And you don't tell me any different. He was the star of his own story. Here's the Ten of Wands. His sexual urges, Wands a lot of times will stand in for, like an erect pee-pee, a passionate stick kind of a thing. But he's got 10 of them. He's overburdened. It's a lot. It's a dominant, obsessive energy that he can't put down. It's always there with him. This drive and, it's a lot too. Like, even all these phallic shaped wands. He really liked inserting objects into the boys and stuff. So he was very obsessed with this. He's got his back to us too. So it's like ashamed, embarrassed. You got to hide it. Don't look at all my wands sticking out, but they're everywhere. So I didn't think he was narcissistic, but he was also obsessive and, like, I don't know what you call it, but, kind of sex obsessed. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Oopsie, oopsie, oopsie. This is death. He's got that heart in one hand, and this other hand, it's weird. It looks like a phallic object. He like those sex things were a way he showed love. It's all he knew. But really, that action was kind of the death of it. So he was kind of like when he would come in the dead of night with the boys, it was kind of the death of their innocence, the death of, their love for their father. He was like an angel of death kind of at night. He was obsessed. He would come in the night to steal their energy, steal their heart, steal their... He also struggled with his own identity and refused to, for example, let's say that he had urges that he was gay. He refused that. So in this way, he could say, I'm not gay, I'm weird, whatever. But so in another way, he refused to ever look at it as a problem. It's just me. I'm not looking in that cup. I'm not looking to the heart of the matter. Nothing like it. I refuse to look. My eyes are closed. It's just me. It's normal for me. And, it was his downfall. It really was a tower of his own making. This passion, this energy, this sexual deviancy, it just blew a fuse. Like, there went the gun off. The boys didn't know how to get out of it. Honestly, he kind of raised them to be drastic and not give up and do what was necessary, whatever it was. He kind of raised them to almost do something like that. Anyway, there's that. Yep, so there was a sexual thing that went on, and it was about, he was ashamed of it, so he kept it hidden, but it was also, he couldn't control it. It was obsessive. It was the death of him, like that death card. So I just want to pull a couple cards now. Do we think the boys might get out? Will they consider the stuff like that new evidence from the Menudo guy? Or just the evidence that they left out? I mean, that could be like grounds for mistrial, I think, because that judge was definitely prejudiced. Is there any chance they'll get out? Yep, I think they do. We'll see. It doesn't seem likely, really, if I were to just try to logically look at it, because they've been in there for so long. Of course, I don't know. I feel like they probably paid their debt considering the circumstances. But let's look at these here cards. Number one, the Five of Swords. They have to fight for it. You know, they presented it. They do have lawyers and stuff on their side that think they kind of got railroaded, which they really did. The district attorney and everything had just lost that OJ trial, and it was a big disgrace and embarrassment. And they were bound and determined not to lose another one. And this was right after that, the second trial. So they're fighting it. They're fighting it now, and they have some good points. Look. Yeah, but look at this. This is the big major sword here, big major truth that we might be considering. And you look, even yelling at them, don't be walking away or ignoring. You need to pay attention to this. So they are going to speak up. Then I get the Sun. That's a big old fat yes card. It looks, because of the way that it's pictured in this card, for one thing, there's usually just one youngster. This one has two. They both look like boys because they got little peepees. So it's two boys being, you know, the curtain pulled away, being taken out of the dark and put in the sun. So that looks like being let out. It's possible one might get out a little bit before the other one, where they don't come out at the same time. One comes out, then the other one comes out. Or this one comes out and then he pulls the door on open for his brother. That looks very good. So then I get this 10 of coins. Now, you can kind of look like, you know, this is like generations or inheritance, that kind of stuff. But like there's the mom and the dad, and they've got their backs turned. They're way back there. Like that was back then. And now all this time later, there's still a single coin for the kid. And it's opened and given to him. So again, this picture looks like they might get released. Opened up and released. It might even be with, this might sound weird, but with their parents' blessing at this point. Because, you know, when you get to the other side, you got to review things and look at your choices and things like that. This makes me think it might happen because even as far as the parents are concerned, they would rather see them out. And then one final card, Two of Cups. Look at this, embracing, holding one another out. And there's the health symbol. So all those cards seem to suggest yes. So we'll look and see. We'll see if that does actually happen. I know the boys would say to this day that they loved their parents and they were horrified. They were immediately remorseful, instantly. They went into horrible shock. They were 18 and 21, isn't super mature. And plus they'd been sheltered and raised weirdly. They didn't really have any friends. The only friends they ever had was a couple of their cousins that got to come over sometime, but they never really got to have friends over, anything like that. So very sheltered. I'm not sure they, were as mature as they might have been. So I'm just going to ask too, how did they feel? How did Eric let's say this. How did Eric feel about his dad? Okay, just kind of getting a feeling of Eric. That's the younger guy, or younger kid's feelings in regards to his dad. They had a lot of history together, a past that was, you know, quite a mountain of energy. Uh, Not necessarily past experiences that you like to think about or look at, but it was kind of a pile of it. And kind of like experiences that were for his eyes only, Eric's. Ace of Swords, which would be truth and justice and all that, but this sword's stuck in a rock. So when it came to his father, there's the crown on the ground, that would be his dad, but it involved a lot of not telling the truth to keep that crown shiny and bright. So he's saying that, and this card's saying like his relationship with his father meant you had to lie, you learned to lie all the time. You could never tell the whole truth. Part of it was always stuck in a rock. He says with his dad was judge, juror, and executioner. It was his way or the highway. You didn't, you know, it was the ultimate decision maker, truth teller, it all. He was the end all be all. He ruled the roost. He is regretful that he killed his mom and dad. And he's, you know, he knows it was bad and not a thing he would do, and he just accepts his fate, however it is. So that accident stays with him. That'll never leave. And he, you know, feels remorseful and sorry and wished it never happened. And that's always with him, that energy of that death experience, that murder. It will always be there with him, like this bird on his shoulder. Whether he gets to get out of the prison here, you know, let's say he's been in there all this time, been waiting for the ship to come in, waiting for the door to open, but he's kind of saying he's okay either way, whether he gets to go out or he stays in. It's kind of like, if that's my fate, then that's my fate. You know, I did do the thing. Still in all, he's wishful that he might get a new lease or a break, or, you know, he's getting up there. He's not going to be around too much longer, but he still has hope. he wouldn't refuse release if it's offered, even though he's kind of willing to accept it either way. He still has hope there would be. Great. Now let's do the same thing for his brother, Lyle. They both feel responsible for their other brother being in prison. Lyle's like, if I'd never told my brother that my dad was still blessed to me like I was supposed to not, none of this would have happened. And then Lyle's like, if I'd protected my brother better and told back then, none of this would have happened. So they both kind of blame themselves, and of course it's not either of their faults. Okie dokie. Well, he talks about the house and home. And, again, this is that vision of we're the perfect, happy home family. 2 kids, mother and father. She's a beauty queen. He's a successful businessman. We have a beautiful big home. Everything's great. And he tried his best to believe it, to buy it, to drink the Kool-Aid, to act as if it was all great. They didn't really know any better. Maybe this is the way fathers do treat their kids. Who knows? I'm going to just drink the Kool-Aid, go along with the idea that we're a happy family, pretend like I don't know things are still going on. This is the older brother now. I'm going to purposely not look over there because I don't want to know that it's still going on. After I said, if I find out it's still going on, it's the end. So he had to, the other one's like, I had to lie all the time. And he's like, I had to pretend like I didn't know what was happening. He kept his eyes closed on purpose because if he looked, this is what he'd see. Heartbreak. Stabs to the heart. Just what he feared was happening. Because everything they did, they kind of did for the love, for their father's love, but it always came back as like swords, daggers. He knew that if he accepted the truth and he, took the blinders off his eyes, that he would have to do something about it. He would have to go on this adventure, face the beast, face to face, pull it out of hiding, expose the beast. That's what he knew he was going to have to do once he, so he was trying to not know about his brother, even though I think he suspected it. He was hoping that it had stopped or whatever, and he tried to avoid it because he knew he was going to have to confront the monster. He wouldn't be able not to. He's going to have to ferret him out of the bushes, make it known, and someone would probably end up dead. He knew he'd have to face the monster, or they thought they were going to be killed. Somebody's going to end up dead. I'm going to have to face it and fight this gnarling, biting animal. So, I don't know. All that makes me think those poor guys, they're adults now. And, a lot of us have different victim kind of things in our childhood. But what a horrible way to grow up. Just a little note on the end. The older brother, Lyle, since he's been in prison, he's done loads and loads of work for sexual abuse with boys. He's done a lot in the prisons because, guess what? A lot of prisoners come from sexual abuse and stuff like that. So he actually has done a lot of good, to try to bring that to the forefront. Like, they're both feel so good that, like, these days you wouldn't just immediately mock and laugh at a guy for saying this happened to me, and these people knew it. You wouldn't be railroaded and treated like that. So they feel like that their horrifying experience, in a way, helped. I know it's kind of a wonky way to help, but it did bring more attention to that. And nowadays, you know that it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. A kid's a kid, and both get raped, molested, all that crap. All right. Well, that was another happy reading. But I think I would like for them to get out. I think they spend a lot of time in prison, 35 years. I know it's not a great thing. We don't want anybody to do. At the same time, I can't say that they were totally and completely responsible. You know how, like, pit bulls get a bad rap because they can be, like, vicious and stuff, but when you get right down to it, it's not actually the pit bull. It's the people that raised the pit bull and taught it to be that way. This is a little like this. They were like pit bull, the little innocent puppies, and then they were raised into be vicious, non-trusting, afraid of everything pit bulls. Anyway, well, I hope that was interesting to you guys. Maybe a lot of you tuned out because you don't care about it, but I thought it was interesting, and it's interesting that it's coming back up again so much later. And I always thought they were telling the truth all the time. So anyway, I just wanted to look at that. Hope you had fun. Next time I'll go back to politics. I just wanted to, go down this other little trail for a few minutes. Okay, guys, I love ya, and I'll see you again real soon.